the inside out work we did in class, I think everybody should go through that, whether they ever want to use a coaching skill in their life or not, in terms of identifying my mission and my vision. And those types of things. But then along with helping me put words to why I was here on earth and what this season of my life, this new, fresh season, was going to be about, it gave me the skills. All of a sudden, I didn't just have to be the Bible study teacher telling people what they should know or what they could do, or a therapist being the expert telling people what to do, and they go out and week after week and don't do it, and not really having any tools to understand how to help them embrace these changes that I thought were a good idea, because I didn't even necessarily have buy-in on those. So I was so excited about coaching for all of those reasons, and probably a dozen more.
What struck me and why I scribbled down Inside Out was that it seemed like in this new season you were being invited into of discovery that married up beautifully with the taking of those classes at that time, was about learning how to live fully in questions. Not in answers, not in directions, not in directives from other kind of places, but just in questions. Questions that oftentimes don't seem to have any kind of answer. And yet, living in them, eventually we do kind of find that the Lord reveals himself in the question, huh?
Right. And it's better than any answer. I mean, answers are great. I'm an answer girl, But it's always interesting to me that I don't think that's necessarily God's goal in most of those situations. And I heard this great analogy the other day. Somebody said the difference between reading the instructions about a game that you're about to play and playing the game are entirely different. And so reading and knowing is valuable, but it's the experience of being in the game of life with God. That's where the value is. That's where the growth is. That's where the change is. And of course, while we're in the experience of life and in the game, we often don't know where it's going to go and what the answer is going to be. But it doesn't mean, okay, well, I'll be happy then. Well, right. Once I figure it out, once the end game's in sight, right? It's like, no. This is joy right here. Right here in the journey is tremendous value and joy. But you're going to laugh at my naivete here, Chris, because in my enthusiasm to jump into life coaching, it had never occurred to me that the minute I became a life coach, I also became a business owner and an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah, that.
That never even nowhere on Kim's radar screen. God's so smart, If I had known ahead of time, I probably would have chickened out and not signed up.
Really?
Really. Because I am I don't like to sell. I never sold Avon. I never even sold Girl Scout cookies. I went and hid behind the trash can at the back of the house and came back and told my mom nobody would buy. All of those things that I thought marketing was, I was so averse to that. And it was so different for me that I really wanted to stay far away from it. Of course, like everything in life, it's spiritual. All of life is spiritual. And God was really inviting me into a new season of not just knowing more about him, which I learned so much about him while I was in my migraine season. But all of a sudden now it was kind of like the lab course. Okay, What about your identity in him, Kim? How are you going to walk that part out? The only thing that would cause me to come out of myself to try to learn these new skills is this passion he's implanted in me for the church.
Wow, so coaching was an instant resonance for you personally. And you could immediately see the applications and the way that it could plug into your desire to serve the church and to call the church up to more of the fullness of God has created and called each one of us to. And then you ran into this discovery of, oh, wait a minute, that means I am a business owner now. I have to begin to market this business. I gotta actually run this like a business. And you're saying, had I known that up front, even in spite of my own strong resonance with it and the desire to serve others, I'm not sure I would have got. Marketing was that scary for you?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Like 99.9% sure. I would not have done it. I would not have done it.
Okay, I mean, I got to say, because our listeners are probably very aware that you are known as probably the primary resource in the Christian coaching world for people to go to on marketing and business development kind of information. I mean, that's what you're known for.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't God funny?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he is. So you got to help us in, how do we understand that? How do we make sense of that?
No, I am not a natural marketer. It's learning, and the majority of the learning is internal. It's just the forum that God uses, this entrepreneurial journey. It's just the game board that he's put out in front of us. He wants me to learn to get my whole identity from him. It's his reputation that matters, not my own. I don't have to be perfect. He's been perfect for me. He's given me his perfect record. It's okay. If I don't perform well, it doesn't matter. I'm already fully accepted in Christ. Nothing I do will cause him to love me more. And so he's really helping me learn and internalize in this lab course of marketing the things I really want to know and need to know as a child of God.
You're saying that all of what we now know of Kim Avery, the marketing guru that Christian coaches should go to, that has come out of this. I mean, it almost feels like a reckless abandon, but an abandon to what God's calling you to. You're going to step into it. He's given you this rich blessing of understanding coaching and seeing it working in your own life, and your hunger to share it with the world. And so you had to respond to him saying, yeah, you're going to have to be my mouthpiece. You're going to have to let people know this. That's how you got to what we know of you now?
Yeah, and that reckless abandon looks a whole lot more like kicking and screaming.
Oh, okay. All right. So.
Yeah, please, not headlong jumping into it, but God just continually meeting me again and again. When I became an entrepreneur, there's no buffer between the results monetarily of what I do, my provision. There's no buffer between my passion. If these things are going to happen, it's not as a result of my being smart and doing all the right things, though it's important to do the right things. It's a result of me having what I call my Monday morning meeting with God, the CEO of my company, and learning to say, okay, I'm going to walk it one more week, and I don't want to do this, Lord. The other big mindset shift for me in this whole journey was, praise God, I don't have to sell. I don't like selling. I told you I've never sold anything. I couldn't sell mittens to an Eskimo. I talk people out of things. You know, I'm like, oh, you don't want to have that. It's not good. You know, I'm terrible at sales. Genuine marketing, I think, is generosity. It's serving even before people hire me and pay me. And you know what? As Christians, this is such a natural posture for us. We love to give. We have the all-generous God who's given everything to us without asking for anything in return. I can do that same thing for other people. Now, I need to be intentional. Like, I'm not going to give coaching away because that's just not smart. It's not good for them. It's not good for me. I'm going to be very intentional about what I give and how I give it. But I just get to go around giving. And as I freely give, God inevitably taps a certain percentage of those people on the shoulder and says, see that girl over there kicking and screaming in the corner? You need to go work with her. And he provides. And so there's a lot of marketing know-how that goes into it. I've made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of things, but it's genuinely a heart issue. I think when it's a recipe, marketing's a recipe. Once you get all the pieces in place, you're fine. It's this heart stuff that's really keeping us from going from here to there. At least it is for me always.
I've seen Kim present at national conferences in front of hundreds of people. I've seen Kim present twice at international conferences with hundreds and hundreds of people packing out the room, people coming up afterwards and wanting to shake your hand and ask you their questions. Your website is heavily trafficked. People that are interested in doing coaching and trying to figure out how to do marketing, they go to you. They follow your blog. You've done your own podcasts. What do you believe about the likelihood of you living as you are currently living? Doing what you're currently doing, having the influence that you're currently having. Had you not gone through the long season of suffering and searching and just kind of almost just clinging to the Lord that you described on our previous episode?
there's no way for several reasons. One is, like I said, in that divine game of hide and go seek, when it seems like God isn't immediately present to me, it distills my love for him, my need for him, into something that's crystal clear and intense, like a laser. The difference between a laser pointing at something and turning on a lamp. And so suffering does that. And it also crystallizes and drives home the passion I have. And what's neat about our listeners is every single person on this planet has a message, has a story. God has woven whatever has gone into making them who they are at this moment while they're listening into somebody who can make a unique contribution that nobody else in the world could make. No one, anywhere. And so it's that suffering reminds us that it's worth coming out of our comfort zone, which is incredibly painful, right, fellow introverts? Maybe every introvert on phone will start a support group, right? It's worth coming out of our comfort zone only for love of him and love of other people. He is everything. And so in our best moments, we know I would do anything for him or anything he asks me to do. But the other beauty of that is I know he'll be with me, because he's always been with me. And so seeing him deliver during those really, really hard times is my only lifeline outside of my comfort zone, is knowing no matter how it turns out, he is working. He is there. He loves me, and that's not going to change. And so I can stray occasionally outside of my comfort zone because of who he is for me in this moment and in the next.
Well, that may be the primary takeaway from this whole sharing, that in the end, we're doing it not because we want to generate X on our paycheck, because this is just what makes me happy during the season of life, but it's out of love for the Father. This is what he's called me to. I'll do anything. If that's what's required, okay, here I go. Nothing going to hold me back from it.
Yeah. Well, except for that kicking and screaming thing, but
okay, yeah, we're allowed to.
But he usually wins, so it's not like There's just that reminder that faith isn't doing things not scared. Faith is doing it scared, And so if I had waited for my mindset to catch up with my actions, I never would have given that first speech from ordinary to extraordinary. I had to act in obedience on what he was calling me to do and let my mindsets catch up. When my kids were little, I had this saying, slow obedience is no obedience. And I think the same thing is kind of true in my relationship with God. Slow obedience is about as good as no obedience. When he taps me on the shoulder, whether it's to speak up in the foundations class or to go to the networking meeting or whatever, seize the moment. Commit when I'm courageous. I'll work out the details later. I wish every listener, I could look them face to face like you and I are doing over the Skype, and look them in the eye and reassure them. You have a purpose. You can contribute something no one else in the world can contribute to the people you are in contact with in your life. God put you in your life in this century, in your home, with your people in your life for a reason. And whatever it is, whether it's building a coaching business or starting a ministry or having the courage to talk to the neighbor next door, the God within you is enough. He will work through you to do this thing. And on the other side of this hard thing, whatever it is such joy in being obedient. So I would just encourage people not to procrastinate. Whatever God's tapping them on the shoulder to do, I don't know, but I bet they do.
I bet they do, yeah. Surrender and obedience. I love your little quote there. Slow obedience is no obedience. If you know he's calling you, just obey. However imperfectly, just obey. Just start moving things. So